So, how does a simple little kids show end up spiraling into a massive Hollywood controversy? Well, today we're pulling back the curtain on a pretty wild story. We're talking secret texts, backroom deals, and a look at how power can seriously shape everything you end up seeing on your screen.
So, where does this whole thing start? Well, it all kicked off with what was supposed to be a really simple, feel good announcement. But right from the get go, something just felt off.
Okay, so for starters, the promo video for the show, it was uploaded as unlisted. That means you couldn't even find it unless you had the direct link. And then on top of that, they completely shut down the comments. To a lot of people, it really looked like the network was trying to just bury the show, like they were just quietly fulfilling a contract they were stuck in and couldn't get out of. And the public backlash, oh, it was swift and it was fierce. People immediately started connecting the dots to what they saw as a wider pattern of behavior. They brought up everything from those leaked text messages to a really uncomfortable on-camera moment with a child reporter. It all started feeding this perception that maybe he uses kids as props for more adult-oriented humor. But here's the thing. This backlash didn't just come out of nowhere. It turns out the whole controversy around this kids show, that was just the tip of the iceberg. It was directly connected to a much, much bigger Hollywood drama that was already boiling over behind the scenes. And this is where it gets really interesting. The backlash is directly tied to the marketing for the film It Ends With Us. Now, this is a movie that tackles the incredibly serious topic of domestic violence. And get this, the company behind that marketing campaign, the one everyone was calling Tonedeaf, was Ryan Reynolds' very own company, Maximum Effort. Okay, and this is where things get, well, truly bizarre. So in a legal deposition, one of the actresses, Isabella Ferrer, she claimed she was really offended when the film's director suggested a scene where she licks cookie dough. But then, and you can't make this up, in a promotional video, one produced by Reynolds' own company, you see her playfully doing that exact same thing. The contradiction is just stunning. And believe it or not, it got even worse. Another one of these marketing stunts was a comedy sketch where Reynolds himself, right in front of the cast, plays a jealous husband. Now just think about that for a second. For a film about domestic violence, this wasn't just tone deaf. A lot of people felt it was just shockingly inappropriate. So all of this just raises a huge question, right? What was really going on behind the scenes to create such a public mess? Well, the answer, as it turns out, is hiding in a private text exchange from May of 2024 between Ryan Reynolds and a top executive at Sony. And when you look at this text exchange, you can see a really carefully constructed three-part strategy. It was all designed to influence this executive, Josh Greenstein, who was the guy overseeing the film. And it unfolds in three very clear stages. You've got flattery, then an attack, and finally, a very, very compelling offer. Okay, so first up, the flattery. Reynolds kicks things off by praising the executive's marketing skills, even comparing him to a black belt and saying he'd love to learn from him. I mean, this is classic report building 101. And then comes the pivot. He just launches into this vicious, really personal attack on the film's director, Justin Baldoni. And it's important to know, Baldoni happened to be in a creative dispute with Blake Lively over the final cut of the movie. The language he uses, I mean, it is absolutely brutal. It seems designed to just completely destroy the director's credibility. And then, for the final move, the offer. Reynolds makes this really open-ended promise of future loyalty, of future favors. He's basically telling the executive, I owe you one. And listen, in a town like Hollywood that's built on relationships, that is an incredibly powerful move. So, did the strategy work? Oh, absolutely. The executive's reply shows he was completely won over. He's praising Lively, calls her a total badass, and he fully commits to her vision for the film. He even says it plainly, her cut is better, no question. But wait, because that is not the end of his story, not by a long shot. Months later, that very same executive is being questioned under oath about these texts in a legal deposition. And suddenly, when the conversation isn't private anymore, the story does a complete 180. And the shift in the narrative it's just stark. Remember, in the private text, the story was that Blake Lively was this victim who needed protection. But now, under oath, the executive reframes the whole thing as just simple, creative differences. He even claims he was just trying to prevent a double standard from being applied to a female star.
So, under oath, this executive basically takes the fall for all the bad marketing, and he downplays the entire drama as just normal creative friction. But, and this is probably the most critical piece of context in this whole thing, by the time he gave that testimony, he had left Sony and moved to Paramount. And guess whose company had just signed a major first look deal with Paramount? Yep, Ryan Reynolds is.
So this entire saga, right, from a little kid's show all the way to a secret text message, it really pulls back the curtain on how power actually works in Hollywood. And it forces us to ask a really important question. When those credits roll, are we actually watching an artist's vision, or are we watching the product of influence and a bunch of backroom deals? Because this story really seems to suggest that, maybe more often than we think, the final cut isn't controlled by the person in the director's chair, but by whoever has the most leverage,